Hey, what's up, y'all?
How you doing?
Welcome to episode number 2 of Looking for My Fit.
Deuces.
Yes, I'm so happy to see you back. So...
No. We got to start off with a kiss.
Oh, we did say that.
There we go.
Oh, yeah, set that
There we
table,
go.
boy. I think that might have been the biggest response that we got from the first episode.
Yeah.
Was setting the table.
And I'm surprised because, I mean, that's something that, I mean, I guess we're from the country, so, like, using little, is that an idiom?
Analogy?
An idiom?
I don't know.
Anyway, I just,
It's like an analogy.
yeah, but I mean, it's something that's common, but people act as though they hadn't heard that before. So, I mean, I say it all the time, setting the table.
But just because you say it all the time doesn't mean everybody else says it. Like, I hadn't heard about setting the table until you talked about it. I mean, you've always talked about that in our marriage. But prior to you, I never heard anybody say, set the table.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Yeah, so, again, thank you all for the response. And thank you all so much for all the comments and the shares. It was very overwhelming in a good way. Thank y'all so much. I think the thing that I liked the most was after the episode. So first of all, dang, I can just go all over the place. I have so many things I want to talk about. One of them being about doing stuff in the face of fear. Carlos was just fussing at me. He's like, "You're such a procrastinator."
Oh.
Wait.
Oh.
We have very different ways of doing things. He's a very...
Let's do it.
Let's go.
Go.
And I am the one who thinks things through. Now, I don't think either thing is bad. I think you need a mix of both. But
Before we start any episode, we go through 30 minutes of, okay, let me check this, let me do this, let me do this.
First
are
of all,
you ready?
We have like 300 episodes. This is episode 2.
We're episode 2.
The second one, that is what I did.
It's taking a total of an hour to get started. Are you ready? Hey, I've been ready since Wednesday.
Listen.
Been ready since Wednesday.
Listen.
Okay, go ahead.
You need both.
You do.
You need a mix of both things.
You absolutely do.
So, we need each other.
Yeah.
I am the person, so you are the person who, you want to do that? Let's go and do it now. You don't think about anything. You want to take a trip to California today? We don't. He ain't packed no clothes. He made no reservations. No gas in the car. You know the route to get there, how we getting there, who's going. He knows none of that. Now, I'll support him in that, but I'm like, okay, now let's fill in the details. So he's the go guy, and I'm the, okay, we can go, but let's think some things through. But I will say for myself is I will overthink something to the point that it doesn't get done.
You think?
But I'm admitting it.
Yeah, okay.
So I'll be like, what about this? I should wait till I do this. I should do that. So anyway, I said all that to say it took a minute for me to be like, let's do this, the first episode.
Yes.
So many little details. You want stuff, and then somebody just reminded me, they were like, obedience is better than perfection. And that was like such a mind shift for me. Like, just do it. You don't have to worry about stuff being perfect. You take the step and you learn along the way, and there'll be some stuff that we'll look at, or I'll look at and be like, ooh, that was a little bit rough. But then you try not to make that mistake again. You work the failure in your favor. So I said the reason I said
that. I did that this weekend.
What?
I with our plumbing.
Oh, Lord Jesus.
Listen. 12:30. What time was it? About 10:30. 10:30 at night. Mm-hmm. I get the urge. I go in and I see.
Hold on. Let me set it up.
Set it up.
So this is what people need to know about you. I love you. He wants to be handy, y'all. He really does. He wants to be the person that when you say something is broken in the house, he wants to be the one to fix it.
I just don't want to spend the money to get someone to fix it.
He has a good heart, and he wants it. You can mask that however you want. You want to be a handy guy. He wants to be the guy to be like, hey, I tell you what, you go and get the rotary, you go. You want to be that guy.
Let's go down here to Lowe's.
Like, listen, you go in the Lowe's. You go to aisle number 10. Down there, they're going to have different size pipes. Like, you don't want that pipe up on the top. You want the pipes in the middle. He wants to be that guy. And he's not, bless his heart. But I know he enjoys it, so I kind of roll with him. Well, the other night, realized that in our bathroom sink in our bedroom, the water was going down very slowly.
Very slow.
Very slow. So he was like, you know what? Let me get up. Let me go get some Drano. He went and got some Drano, and then we went to bed, put the Drano in there. Woke up the next morning, and I'm like, dang, the Drano didn't work. So he says, oh. I was like, just be supportive. Let me see what's going on in here.
So now let me take over.
Wait, hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
Hold on. So I let it go. I didn't know what he was going to do. I leave the room for a while. I come back. He is laid on the floor. There's a bucket in there, and there are pieces of pipe everywhere. And I knew then this was going to be a rough situation. He's in there. So he says, first he's trying to sound so confident, y'all. So he goes, listen, this look, your kids done got stuff down in the sink. Look, I done took this piece apart, and he showed me some stuff, and I was like, okay. And then, this piece right here, see, whoever put this sink in halfway did it.
They rigged some stuff.
So he did all of this, and then he's trying to fix it. He was like, yeah, I'm gonna have to go to Lowe's, get these pieces. Oh, if y'all knew our history, y'all would have known how. So he went to Lowe's, he came back. Man, I forgot the other piece. So he left, goes back to Lowe's, he comes back. Again, I'm leaving him alone. The best way I can to support is to say nothing. I come back in again, and he says to me, laying on the floor from under the sink, man, this is like Tetris.
It is.
This is like Tetris. Trying to look under here. I said, oh Lord Jesus, I'm trying to figure out how to get these pipes to go from this side to this side.
Oh, buddy.
Oh, Lord Jesus. So then he gets up and he goes back to Lowe's for the third time. Y'all, this isn't over multiple days. This is in the same day. I got to go back to Lowe's. I said, okay. He comes back. He's in there working. Y'all, by this time I'm tired. I done went to sleep. He wakes me up and he says, well, I thought he was going to say, got it. He says, babe, don't turn the water on this. Don't turn that water on this thing when you get up.
I couldn't fix it. I didn't fix it.
Oh, my Lord.
I didn't fix it. But what happened was the guy or the company that did the plumbing initially, right? They're professionals. So they're able to cut and mend and put pipes together. So when I go to Lowe's, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to just make things fit together. So I've got to find exact shapes and molds of pipe that'll fit into this little small area. So needless to say, I think I went to Lowe's probably about 10 times.
You went a lot because you went 3 in that one day.
And it took me 3 days. So halfway through this process, I realized, you know what? I think I might have should have hired somebody just to do this and get it out of the way. But I kept going.
You did.
And I ended up fixing it. And what does it look like?
Wait, I was going to get to that.
Yeah, go ahead.
First, it looks really good. So I came home the other day. That was not without error because, okay, we'll leave that part alone. He got it. He put it together. It looks like a roller coaster, but it's done. And
we saved money.
Those pipes are going all. I should take a picture.
It looks good. It looks good.
The pipes look like a ride at Carowinds, but he got it fixed. Good. He got it fixed. It looks good, and it's done. But the whole way we got here is I'm saying if you had really included me before you did that, I would have said, babe, take a picture.
Yeah, the guy at Lowe's asked me that several times. You got a picture of it? I said, no, I didn't take a picture of it.
I would have said, take a picture.
Yeah.
So that's how we work good together. So if I work in isolation, what usually happens with me is I'll just end up not doing it because I overthink it to the point that I'm overwhelmed and I'm like, just bump it, just not gonna do it. And then when you work in isolation, you jump in and it's real rough around the edges. So we complement each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that kind of leads into what we were gonna talk about today some. When you talk about isolation, that was a good segue, and I didn't even mean to do that.
I did.
Oh, no,
No, I
you didn't.
didn't.
No, you didn't. I think the reason the conversation got opened up so much last week is because people were like, oh my gosh, we have the same conversations. And a lot of conversations were opened up in households on a lighter note because it was like, oh, it's not just us. And so they kind of had us, they listened to us and were like, oh, we're not crazy. Because a lot of times you think you're crazy when you think it's just you. Or you think the situation is worse when you think it's just you. So I think people said, oh, like this is not, I'm not saying it's not a problem, but people realized it wasn't just them. So when I was talking to my friend C, she was like, we were just talking about the episode, and she said, the devil is busiest in isolation. And I was like, oh, that is so true. So I think sometimes the situations or issues that you have in your marriage get escalated because you think it is just you. And the reality of it is, it's not. It's just that you think with Facebook and Instagram, I don't think people are being fake on Facebook and Instagram. People post what they want to post. I post my good stuff. I mean, and there's nothing wrong
Your
with that.
highlights.
Yeah, it is a highlight
see
reel.
my highlights.
But I think a lot of times, I don't necessarily want to post the rough start. Had an argument with Carlos today. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to post the good stuff. We got some pictures. I'm going to post the best picture. I think that's just what we do, which is fine. But I think sometimes when we take a look at everybody's highlight reel, as you say, feels like everybody else is doing good and you're the only one that's struggling or having stuff. And so I think that was one of the big things from the episode that made me feel good. Not that other people are having issues, but that the conversation was able to get opened in a more lighthearted way because people are like, oh, it's not just us. So that now leads us to this. One of the things, so I love all of y'all, and the messages and stuff that I had and the back and forth conversations have been great. One thing that came up, and I was like, oh, babe, we should go back and share that part, where somebody said, like, I think it's awesome how you and Carla said you don't argue, you discuss things. So let's talk about the isolation part. So people say, like, well, they don't even argue and we argue. We do not argue, but it's not because we just good like that, or we were just made for each other. We don't argue
Because of me.
No.
You don't argue because of me.
No, we don't argue because we can't argue.
Yeah.
And that was something that we had to realize pretty early.
Early on.
Very early on.
So
now this is marriage. Now I'm talking marriage. I'm not talking dating because we definitely arguing.
Oh yeah, dating. We didn't shut some situations down.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
So we don't argue because we realized early in our marriage, so not during our dating time. Let's do a rewind. So Carlos and I met in high school. Again, that'll be another episode. I'm so excited about these episodes we can have. Carlos and I met in high school, but we did not start dating until after he had graduated and gone to college. So we were friends up until then. Then we ended up going to the same college.
She followed me. She followed me.
Behold the green and gold, Norfolk State
she followed
University.
me.
Whatever, I got a scholarship. So we at Norfolk State. Dated for a while. And then eventually we ended up breaking up. And we had like a lengthy breakup. But then we got back together. He realized that was the biggest mistake of his life, and he asked me to marry him.
It was.
Look
It was
at
the
you.
biggest mistake of my life.
This is so, I love this. So prior to that, one of the reasons, let's go on the record and say he broke up with me. Yeah. He broke up with me. So usually you like the girl.
Because again, the arguing was just so.
It was bad.
It was toxic.
It was.
I mean, it was to the point where I am an alpha male. She's an alpha female. So it got to the point where I was just like, yo, somebody's going to hurt somebody.
I don't think it was at that point.
Just saying anything that you could.
Was physical, but
no, not physical.
Like that. But
not
I think
physical.
So here's the thing about he and I. We argued. We both could get, again, he said alpha, and neither one of us is the type to back down.
Yeah.
We feel passionate about something. So like, when you want to go, we can go. And then what we realized is both of us had a place that we could get to where there was no return.
Yeah. And I knew how to take her there, and she knew how to take me there.
Sure did. Like, you know those trigger points?
Yeah, so,
and
it was...
You want to be mad? Oh, you think you mad now? Oh, let me hit those triggers. So that's where we were. And it was not healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I think anyone who went to Norfolk State, who knew us as a couple, who would see us now, is surprised.
You know that dog on the exactly.
Anybody who went to Norfolk State with us, who knew us as a couple, they got to be surprised. Yeah. Like, listen, God is real and anything's possible. These two are still together. They are still together. We did not know how to effectively communicate.
Yeah.
And so we have argued in public. Like, it's embarrassing to look back on that.
Mm-hmm.
We have had arguments in public where, seriously, the blinders come on, do not care that other people are around. We argued one day in front of the dorms, Twin Towers, if you go to Norfolk State. I do remember watching the blinds come up.
They out there again.
Blinds come up. People looking out the windows like, girl, get to the window, listen to them. I mean, it was bad.
Yeah, it was bad.
It was bad.
Argued at a basketball game one day. Went to see her, and her brother was playing basketball in Halifax. And he was just like, hey, y'all, come on, y'all. Please, this is embarrassing.
My mama looked at my dad and said, come get him. It was bad. But we just didn't know how to communicate.
Yeah.
That was the hard part. And so what he said to me when he broke up, this is the first thing, but there was a thing that sent me over the edge, but I needed it. We would say something to each other, and you would like, babe. He's like, I think we need to break up. And you said, I love you to death. I love to ground you.
Let's see what she gonna say. I don't remember this conversation.
Said, but you are the devil. That's what I swear to God. He told me I was the devil. And let me tell you, we say a lot of stuff to each other, but to call me Satan, I was like, oh, you watch this.
I might have said that a little wrong.
Oh, you but you said it, which then led to a almost 3-year breakup. Like, it was lengthy. He came back a couple days later, like, y'all ain't mean. I was like, oh, no. You can call me the devil? You didn't call me the devil? This is over. Well, we gonna ride this one out. So we broke up for a good amount of time. Mm-hmm. But I think it was good for us.
Yes.
I think we definitely needed that time to go out. That thing made me so mad. Like, it took a minute before we even really, like, really talked to each other. Mm-hmm. It was like, it wasn't a break where we said, oh, I still call him every now and then. It was a break.
It was clean, just peace.
Yep, it was like deuces. We just didn't talk to each other. We didn't see each other. We didn't ask about each other. And then eventually, we came back together. Mm-hmm. I don't even remember how.
Well, I do. I remember because I moved to Maryland. Yeah. And that kind of...
That was huge for us.
Yeah, that was huge because once as long as we were in the same city, I think we would have still dipped and dabbed and
because it's comfortable.
Yeah, it's comfortable.
So you like, okay, like I know we're arguing, but and it's like a little dysfunctional, but I know this.
Yeah, I know this. But once I moved to Maryland, it was just kind of, and you were still in Norfolk. It was just kind of, yo, I'm out, clean break. Let me start over here. She's in Norfolk, so we didn't do the long distance thing. So it was just kind of like that's the end of it.
Yeah, that was it.
And finally, I want to say after about 2 years, I think I just called you out the blue.
I think you may have.
Yeah,
it wasn't anything like big and.
Yeah, I think I just.
Like,
I just think I called you out the blue and was just like, and it almost felt like and I could tell when I called that, when she picked up the phone, of course we had call ID, on your house phone or whatever. So when she saw it was a Maryland number, or I don't know if she recognized it was my number, but as soon as she picked up, I could tell the voice where, okay, she glad I called. Okay, it was So
but I think it was because we were friends.
Yeah.
So it was like, in addition to losing each other in a relationship, we had lost a friendship.
Yeah.
And that was tough, but that break was much.
Yeah. So it was like about maybe 30-minute conversation. Then like, yo, you should come to Maryland to see me.
Yep, and I did.
And she came to Maryland
to see me. Got in a car accident coming back, totaled my car. I didn't total, somebody totaled. Somebody hit me.
So from there, it was just kind of like...
Your reaction when I called you and told you about the car accident, you probably don't remember. It was so sweet, and I think that was like my sign, like, oh, I love him. Because you were just really worried. And then you were like, who hit you? And what happened? And what did the police say? Like,
I'm going to go beat him up.
It was kind of like that. And I knew you wouldn't, but I like the thought of like that you were like being protective. I think that was part of it. And so not too long after that, that was probably spring. That same year, Christmas Eve, you proposed.
Yeah.
It was super. So we still talked to each other, but we never made it official. And then we got to like, that was in the spring because you were still teaching. It was in school year. And then that October... I think we were like, okay, we're back together. And in December, you proposed.
Yeah, so it was like, look, there's no need to date. Ain't no need to date. If we getting back together, we getting married. So it
was just like that. If we're going to do this, we know where this is going. And that's what we did. Oh, I love you.
But to talk about the communication piece, right? What helps us now is we do something that's kind of different.
But back up.
Okay.
When we got married, we realized what the issue was when we were dating. So when we got back together, we knew part of what the problem was that we just didn't know how to communicate. We never said that to each other, but we both knew what the issue was. When we got,
I gave her some holy oil.
It's okay.
Got that devil up out of her.
Listen. So when we get married, we were still pretty even keeled. Mm-hmm. And then I don't even remember what the first argument was about that we had in our marriage. I have no idea what it was. But that's when we realized, okay, we fell back, so we would try to not argue. But I think the problem that happened with that was we went from one extreme to the next. We went from somebody who would argue and pick every battle to never picking a battle, which to me was worse because you would let stuff fester. And then when you get to the point, it would take one little thing that had nothing to do, like that you really weren't mad about, to like blow up because you've been holding everything in. Now, I will say that was primarily from me. And
exactly. And I am like,
take ownership for
we
that.
Going from 0 to 100
real quick.
Jamaica, because I drunk the last soda.
Yep.
What?
Yep.
So
get out my face.
She done held all of this in, and so now we're not arguing about who drank the last soda. We're arguing about 9 other things.
It's a whole bunch of other things. So then we tried to navigate that because I didn't want to be a nitpicker. Mm-hmm. Like nitpick every single thing. That's really not who I am, but it was like I couldn't figure out what I wanted to speak up with just because I knew where you and I could go when it came to arguing. So it like made me nervous. I was just like, that is a slippery slope. So I will give us credit for even realizing that, like, arguing for us can go in a really bad direction quickly. Mm-hmm. So now come back to what we realized, and I think it just happened one day.
Well, it happened one day because, in just historically, and I tell kids at school, if a guy and a girl, if they're arguing, guys or girls, I don't know how to say this without talking bad about my fellas.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. I thought you were going to say something crazy about the women. I was going to check you.
Women are just more quick with it.
Oh yeah.
and
And
the guy exactly
in the shower.
The guy
waiting for the argument to drop. Or wait till he say, and when he say, I'm gonna hit him with, I have already practiced
exactly like this. See that? Look, see?
I am ready.
So we can't get words out. So by the time the only thing you end up saying, and she's still going a mile a minute. So
Was ready.
it didn't work that way for me, right? And I couldn't do it. So one day we're arguing, so I just walk away, and I sent her a text message, and the text message. Go ahead. How
you wrote it on paper.
What did I say?
Old school. You wrote it. You didn't text it.
Okay, but now we text. We wrote it. Mm-hmm. All right. So it was kind of like. So how did you get the? Because
you wrote it and brought it to me.
And then you would write it.
Yes. I was like,
bring it back to me. There it is. So that was before now we text, but before it was kind of like, let me write this down so that she can read what I'm saying and she can understand what I'm saying and actually identify the situation or the problem. And it works.
Because when you argue, I hear nothing you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm preparing for the rebuttal. The clap back is about to be thunderous. So it don't even matter. You could have said in the midst of that, and you're right. I'm like, and then you had I've skipped over what he said. I'm just ready for him to be quiet because we about to go in. But when you wrote it, I had to, really take it in. Like, okay, now, this would be so funny. This is what we noticed. We should have saved that paper from that first one. Because this is what happened. You wrote, and it was lengthy. Then I wrote, but I was like the little thing with the little boy, the meme, or the GIF, whatever you call it. And he's like this. And he's writing real fast. That was me. Like, you can see the paper is dark. I was writing hard. So you had a long paragraph. Then I had a long paragraph. And then your paragraph got a little bit shorter. My paragraph got a little bit shorter. And then it got shorter. And then my writing was not so dark because I was not writing so hard. I was calming down. But in not being able to verbally cut you off, I had to
understand really that she was wrong.
We're going to have to write something after this episode. I had to really read through and see what he was saying in the same thing. And so you couldn't just jump back and say whatever. You had to write it. And that made a huge difference. So then you're like, okay, he might be right. He might have a point. I'm not saying that's the thing every time. But we realized from that one time, like, we just didn't know how to communicate. And that's what works for us. Mm-hmm. We cannot verbally. So when we make each other mad, now, we talked about setting the table last week. That conversation always going to be in person. Catching them at bedtime. Thought you was going to sleep. No, you're not. That one's always going to be a conversation. But know how to talk about that. But anything else is bothering us, we can tell when the other one is mad about something. Mm-hmm. It's a vibe. For me, you talk through your nose. That's what I call it. Nostril spread, and he talking like from the back of his throat. I know something bothering him. So when something is bothering us, we'll wait. We'll send a text. Here's the thing that made me mad. So you got to read the text, you got to process the text, and then you have to respond. And I think that, no, it's not a thing. That's what's helped us. Mm-hmm. So we don't do a whole lot of arguing. We just really have to hear each other out.
Yeah, because you're not thinking about a rebuttal. You're actually dealing with the situation at hand. So, I mean, it's helped. This helps her to understand, She is off the chain sometimes.
But that's all about self-growth and reflection. Mm-hmm. And that is something... Now, wait a minute. You're not going to make me look like the hothead. Because you... What? So I ain't going to put all your business in the street. This dude right here, it's a certain place I have to pull. Got to pull him a little tight because I can tell when he's about to be in that place. And I think we all, not everybody, I can't speak for everybody, but a lot of us have that thing. But I think with communication, that's kind of where things go, is just knowing how. So I just wanted to share that piece. Was like, I don't want people to feel like we were just like a match made. I mean, I do think we were made for each other. Yeah. But I don't think it was like, oh, they have such a beautiful story. Like, no, it's been some rocky times. And we had to be willing to push through and find what worked for us. And so what works for us that keeps us from arguing is writing stuff out so that we're not jumping over top of each other. Because then that just, again, it opens up stuff and it leads to 17 other things that you've been mad about. So if something is really bothering me, now that's not saying we texting each other all the time. I think we still pick and choose. So it has to be something major that I'm like, again, you know, if thinking that he's a good father is not enough to get me over the hump. If my thought of him being a good father doesn't get him over the hump, then I know that's when I need to send that text message. Yeah, do you have anything else you'd like to add about that?
Nope.
Okay, well, let's talk about this real quick. Oprah is next weekend.
Houston is in April.
Well, listen. Here's what I wanted to say about this. See, I'm gonna wrap it up. Something about Oprah, and I mean, you and I. So listen, our schedules are so crazy. Like my schedule is crazy the time I leave the house in the morning. So we don't see each other in the morning, except when I'm like, bye, see you, baby, I'm out the door. So we usually don't see each other till nighttime. But first of all, messages from people who are like, hey, you're going to Oprah? I'm going to Oprah. So there's a lot of people going to Oprah. I'm excited about that. But shout out to all my ladies in Charlotte who heard this and said, you know what? I'm going to Oprah too. Yeah. So a lot of people were like, I heard it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to Oprah too. So we're about to have a whole lot of ladies here in Charlotte going to Oprah as we focus on our vision moving into this, or as we get ready to conquer this new year.
I can dig it.
Yeah.
So shout out to Oprah.
What's been funny is so many people had joked about the Oprah thing, and next week ended up being a heavy week with kid activities.
Yeah. I had some things planned. And
so I'm like, oh, my husband will be here. They're like, okay, because I'm going to Oprah. So today we took Peyton to dance. That's our youngest. She's going to dance, and took her to a trial class today, and she loved it. So we were like, hey, she loved it. We'll bring her back. So she's like, okay, just do this, this, and this. Come back Saturday. I'm like, well, he'll be here because I'm going to be with Oprah. And she's like, oh, you going to Oprah? And it turned into a whole conversation. So shout out to all my ladies who, even if you're not going to Oprah, you're living your best 2.0 life, stepping into 2020 with the 2.0 version of yourself. I see you.
She's going to Oprah.
And he will be
I got
to dance.
I got basketball games. I got a couple other things. So then, you know, she's going to come in. Let me tell you what I did. I don't give a what you did with Oprah. No, I won't. No, yeah. I'll still listen.
See, look, me going to Oprah this weekend and you doing all that stuff.
Setting the table.
That gives you extra good father.
I'm setting the table.
That gives you extra good father.
No, that's setting the table.
He's a good father. He's a good father handling all that. So thanks for being a good father.
I'm a table setter.
And setting the table.
Yeah.
Okay, well, listen. This is super quick today because it is one of those days where we got a lot of running around to do. So we're getting ready to head to a basketball game. Followed by shopping, which he's not excited about. But we're going to do it. Set the table.
No, we don't need to set the table for that.
We did. We're going to set the table by going shopping today, okay? All right, but listen, for real, thanks, guys. We really, really, really appreciate all of your support. And again, all of the likes, the shares, the comments. So we hope you enjoyed this, and we will see you all next week.
Hey, guys, fellas, any help with your plumbing? Don't hesitate.
Any help with your plumbing, call a professional. Or if you decide to tackle it yourself, take some pictures before you do it. Yeah.
Don't hesitate. I got you.
Goodbye. All right, guys. See you next week.